Welcome back to GA Fan TV. This is the instant match reaction after Armagh have drawn with Mayo 17 points apiece at the Athletic Grounds. A late Rian O'Neill point saves Armagh from the defeat, from the depths of despair, and what a fantastic finish to that game. Look, it was slow and getting going. It probably wasn't the best game of football in the first half, but the second half was absolutely brilliant. I mean, it was end to end, and it just really got going, and you could see with the supporters and the fans and the atmosphere that there was, that meant a lot for Armagh to get that draw, and it probably meant a lot for Mayo not to come away with that victory. And it was an interesting game because at half-time, if you had told Armagh supporters this game will finish as a draw, I think they would have been disappointed, and I think Mayo would have been over the moon. But as it developed in the second half, I mean, Mayo pulled clear. I mean, they went 5 points ahead going into the final couple of minutes, and from about the 62nd minute onwards, Armagh really took advantage and pulled away. And, Andrew Murnan, I thought, very good game from him. A couple of late points, 3 points from him. But, he gets a point. Obviously, Rian O'Neill gets a couple of scores as well. And Armagh just started to really turn the screw. And you could see what Mayo is that they still have a young enough side in some respects, give or take, without some of the experience. I mean, obviously, they've like Aidan O'Shea, Kevin McLaughlin, all that. They do have experienced heads in there, but there maybe was an element of inexperience in the final couple of minutes, especially that chance. I think it might have been Owen McLaughlin maybe who came on when Ethan Rafferty's like well outside his goal and they work it forward. And McLaughlin, all he needs to do really is keep possession there, and I think they win the game. Or try run it closer towards the goal, because it was an open goal. I can see why he went for it. But in the end, like he got, the minimum you need to do there is at least get the point. And, he goes for the outside of the boot effort, and it was completely wayward. And that allowed Armagh to work one final opportunity, which they did, and they won the free, which O'Neill put over the bar. But yeah, like it was an interesting game. Like I was doing the watch along, obviously, and shout out to anyone who tuned in for it. I mean, it was slow enough in the first half. You were kind of looking at it and thinking there was a lot of fouls, a lot of frees, a bit cagey. You could see Armagh very much trying to keep every man inside their own 45. They were being hugely defensive to try, I suppose, limit any opportunity for Mayo to, dink balls into Aidan O'Shea or try run it through the middle. And obviously, I wasn't at the game, obviously, but from looking at it on the TV, it looked like there was a bit of a breeze maybe in favour of Armagh in the first half and Mayo in the second half, just looking at maybe how the game panned out. Might be wrong on that maybe, but that did you kind of did get that general consensus from looking at it. And Armagh were fair, hugely defensive, and Mayo had all the possession. I think they'd like 63% possession in the first half, but they just weren't moving the ball quick enough. They weren't taking enough risks. They weren't asking Armagh enough questions. Whereas Armagh, on the other hand side, like when they were working the ball forward, they were getting it into Andrew Murnan, getting it into Rian O'Neill, working fouls, working frees. Rory Grugan was fantastic in terms of turnovers. And you could see Armagh, they were getting a lot of joy from that. They were getting scores, they were getting chances, and Mayo really struggled to deal with that. They struggled to stop Armagh's flow, really. And it wasn't really until the second half that Mayo really kicked into gear and started to take more chances. And, Fionn McDonough, I thought was very good. Ryan O'Donoghue, fantastic performance from him, 7 points, some wonderful scores. Cillian O'Connor, who obviously came on initially for James Carr after he got sort of overtly punched in the face by Ross Finn. I mean, it did look like, obviously I want to see it back again, but it did look a little bit, it looked intentional. And I think that, we've seen earlier with, was it Ryan O'Toole of Monaghan for a hit out on Stephen O'Cumber, which, I think had less malice in it than this. And that was a red card. So it was interesting to see that the ref didn't give anything for it. I think he gives a yellow in the end. I thought personally it should have been a red card. And, I think a red card from there changes the outcome of the game probably, because I think, Mayo were down to 14 men. They would have had to sit back a lot more from there. Armagh were down to 14 men. So I think Mayo would have kicked on probably even further than what they did. But nonetheless, Cillian O'Connor was the man who came on, 2 points, and, vintage Cillian O'Connor at times. 2 very good scores from him. Jordan Flynn, very impressive. Aidan O'Shea, actually, it must be said, had a very good game. Real target man inside that full forward line. And I think that's the best we've seen Aidan O'Shea play for a while for Mayo. The service into him was very good, but he was causing a lot of problems, and Armagh found it difficult to get the ball off him when he won it. And not only did he score a point in the second half, but he also won a couple of fouls, and he was setting up scores. And I thought he did a very, very good game. And if Mayo hang on to win that game, I think you could argue the case that he's man of the match. I think they gave man of the match to Ryan O'Donoghue on TG Cahir. I'd argue Aidan O'Shea probably could have won it. I thought he was very, very good from a Mayo perspective. But you could see with Armagh in the final couple of minutes, I mean, that intensity that they were playing with, they were pressing up on kickouts. And I felt like in the second half, it just wasn't working out for Armagh, like up until that final sort of 10 minutes, 5 minutes or so plus injury time. The final pass just wasn't working, over hitting passes. It just wasn't, the flow just wasn't quite there from an Armagh perspective. But then they just started to get a bit of a grip on the game. They started to get a couple of scores. Connor Turbot started contributing 2 big points right before injury time. Rian O'Neill with a couple of late frees as well. And they arguably could have got a goal as well. They were very close, Armagh, from getting a goal. I think Andrew Murnan had a shot that was deflected off and the Hessian onto the post and wide. That could have easily ended up in the back of the net. And in fairness, Mayo actually a couple of minutes previously with Jordan Flynn running through, I think his effort was deflected and then it was cleared by Comiskey on the line. Mayo could have had a goal themselves. So it could have really went either way, this one. It really, really could have. And, I think if you're a Mayo supporter, like there's a lot of positives to take. The fight that you showed in the second half when the game wasn't going right, the fact that Kevin McStay was able to see that, right, we need to move the ball quicker. We need to take more risks. We need to take more chances. And even the men coming off the bench again, like Cillian O'Connor making an impact. I think the disappointing factor would be that you didn't hang on there, and maybe it's a bit of inexperience, maybe it's a bit of a lack of bottle in some ways, but I think it will come in time under Kevin McStay. It is early days, and Armagh, like the physicality of them at times towards the end of the game, like Mayo were trying to dish out heavy hits, and they were just bouncing off the Armagh players. Like the physicality of them in the final couple of minutes was on show, and I think it did make a big impact. And I think Jason Duffy coming off the bench, I think made a big impact from an Armagh perspective. Mikey says a lot of soft frees for Armagh towards the end. Referee might as well played in orange. Like I thought one or two of the fouls at the end were the right decision. I mean, the Rian O'Neill foul right at the end. He doesn't get the ball, so it is a foul. Probably goes down a little bit easily. You could argue there were a few decisions either way that probably wasn't the right decision. Should Finn been sent off? Probably. Rian O'Neill had another heavy hit, I remember, at one scenario, and I don't even think he got a card in the end. Didn't get a yellow or a black, so that was a bit of a surprise. So there probably was a few questionable decisions there from the referee, but it's a game that could have went either way. It's two sides that realistically there's not much between them. And I think both will take confidence from the fight that they showed in dragging the game back in both different ways. And I think both will be disappointed that they didn't win it, but also happy they didn't lose it. So, that's kind of the game in a short summary. But 2 points from 2 games from Mayo. You could look at it both ways, and they got the late leveler last week. This time they, in the end, lost it. But 2 points from 2 games against Galway and Armagh, it's not bad. If they had won one of the two, they probably would have been happy. So coming away with 2 draws is probably nearly better because they didn't lose a game. So, positive negatives to take from both sides, but a very entertaining second half in the end. And, Rian O'Neill doing what he does best with that late leveler. Tom says Stephen Campbell and Ethan Rafferty soloing up the pitch looks good, but if nothing comes out of it, it's pointless. And Ethan Rafferty definitely played with 4 once or twice. Obviously, towards the end of the first half, he nearly got caught. Cillian O'Connor nearly caught him with that goal, and obviously then in the towards the end of the game, just a risky ball. I think can't remember who it was played into, but you're playing with 4, especially in those instances, and a bit more cleverness and a bit more cuteness from Owen McLaughlin. to just keep possession and just wait, just wait for opportunities to come in. And Mayo with a goal there would have won the game, and even a point would have been enough to win the game. So, a little bit of disappointment there from a Mayo perspective that they didn't quite see that through, but and they didn't punish that mistake. But certainly it's something that Armagh will need to watch as well. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, your opinions in the comments down below. My name is Aaron. This has been the match reaction. Armagh snatching the draw late on, and big result in the end. We'll be going live tomorrow at 6:30 to review all the weekend's action with the GA Statsman himself. So make sure to tune into that one. And subscribe. See you all.